Okay, greetings everyone. This is First Centurion 753 with the second part of a two-part series reviewing the scenarios, countries and scenarios for the Great War mod in Hearts of Iron 4. And last time I did the Powder Keg of Europe scenario, 1910. Now I'm looking at the Great War scenario, 1914. Just so you know, I am planning on starting a series. I think I mentioned this in the comments of the last video. I'm thinking about doing a series on Germany with the Great War mod, taking an approach to Germany as Otto von Bismarck would have done. Otto von Bismarck is the German chancellor from the 1800s and foreign minister who orchestrated, well, he originally was Prussian, but he orchestrated the unification of Germany in 1870 through a series of wars and unification of the vast German states that existed during that time period. Otto von Bismarck had given several warnings before he had left office, and they seem to be basically ignored by the Germans, by the Kaiser, leading into World War I. So my curiosity would be, what if the Kaisers had taken his advice? One of the most famous predictions, I think, from Bismarck is that the next Great War, will start by some damn bloody thing in the Balkans, I think is what he said. And there you have it. In the Balkans is where World War I began. So I'm thinking about doing a series on him. Of course, that would be a much more cautious approach, which kind of fits my strategy for people who watch my channel. I'm not really aggressive with my geopolitics and going to war. I sort of like to play the chess match and position myself slowly. And with Bismarck's disagreement of the idea of invading Belgium, that contradicts the Schlieffen Plan, which the Germans employed in World War I, or the idea of the Schlieffen Plan. I don't know if they employed it exactly as planned, but the idea was to invade invade France through Belgium, which of course brought Britain into the war and gave the Russians gave the Germans a much more difficult situation. I really think the British actions during the war, economic actions and naval blockade, really kind of shut down Germany's ability to make war. It was close. It was definitely a close war. Well, certain situations were close. The Germans almost took Paris. The Battle of the Marne was what stopped them. Well, I'll leave the whole debate of World War I up to you guys in the comments, and if we do the video, and we do go ahead and do that series, we can talk about that further. But let me know what you guys think. And if so, should I do it in 1910 or 1914? To look at 1914, the Great War. The drums of war are beating fervently. In the next year, a war is expected to break out between, at the very least, France and Russia versus Germany and Austria-Hungary. If more powers end up getting involved, the conflict could be the largest war the world has ever seen. One thing is certain, for many countries, their very existence is on the line. So again, if I did 1910, there would be a lot more preliminary World War I stuff that would go on for a while. There's the crisis in Morocco, and interesting in the playthrough that I'm doing right now, where I did start in 1910, there's this whole different scenario in the Balkans that is sort of played out, where Serbia has created a Balkan League and bringing in Bulgaria, Greece, Montenegro has emerged. They challenged the Ottomans, and I think that challenge eventually failed, and then Bulgaria broke away. So it's a different approach. This could have a drastically different historical scenario, but 1914 would be right away. It would be probably something that people would be more familiar with, and there will likely be a war much sooner. So I'll leave the vote in the comments down below. Oh yeah, I'll leave you guys the opportunity to vote in the comments down below. Let me know if you'd like to see that series. I'm probably going to go ahead and play it anyways, but would you like to see 1910 or 1914? 1914 will start us off with a particular national focus that is much more historically accurate to what the countries of the world had. Let me go through and read through these scenarios. Again, I read through these scenarios in the last episode, but they are somewhat different. Some things are the same. You still have Scramble for Africa, the North German Confederacy legacy. So those things are kind of the same there. However, the brief history is different. Herr von Bismarck's prediction that the next war will start with a spark from a powder keg in the Balkans seems to be further, spell check there, and further approaching reality. With all the tension stemming from the region, there's no doubt a war between German and French alliances will break out soon. Germany, therefore, must be prepared. The time for diplomacy is over. That's not Bismarck. Bismarck is the diplomat. Let's see. The German army must be ready for what could be a long, gruesome, and worst of all, two-front war. That was their biggest fear, to fight a two-front war that would devastate Germany. Germany is very powerful, very resourceful. I am able to raise a very powerful army. I think I have some of the most powerful divisions in the ones in the game that I'm playing. But again, in the game that I'm playing, it's slow moving. I could probably, increase the speed a little bit for me, but I'm just kind of slowly going through it and setting up armies and everything and just preparing the borders for what could be a potential outbreak of war. And I'm kind of trying to find any possible way for Germany to just continue to position itself, improve its position without actually going to war with France and Russia. And that will be the goal if I go ahead and play a Bismarck series. If you guys want to see another series, feel free to suggest them down in the comments. Of course, Patreon requests will get a priority, and you can support me on Patreon in the link down below. Let's go ahead and look at these other nations, though. Great powers. Italy. Italy's a big factor. Can the Germans keep Italy in the Triple Alliance? That's a trick, and that's something I'm trying to work on, but it's tough. There is a route, according to the National Focus Tree, that would allow them to go with the Central Powers, but in the history that I saw, and I guess I'm playing historical AI, I could turn the historical AI off, but let me know if you think you want me to do that. I don't think I do, though. I'd like to try to turn Italy, or keep Italy with the Triple Alliance. Again, Triple Alliance, Germany, Italy, Austria-Hungary. I'd like to keep Italy in the Triple Alliance without turning, with the AI focus. I don't know. 22 years ago, Italy half-heartedly joined the Triple Alliance with Germany and hated Austrians to spite France's gains in Tunisia. And they hated Austrians. Sorry, I read that wrong. And they hated Austrians to spite France's gains in Tunisia. France is pretty powerful and influential in North Africa and West Africa at the time. With her old alliance, today the alliance is most shaky in Europe. The most shaky in Europe. With her old alliance, Italy has the chance to get Savoy, Nice, Corsica, and Tunisia for herself. However, the Entente would provide the Dalmatian coast and seems much more able to do so. Italy still has time before the war to make a decision on which side her fate lay. That could be something that I could play, maybe. It makes more sense to play Italy as joining the Entente. However, that could be an interesting scenario. Italy stays with the Triple Alliance and see how that plays out. I don't know. Let's look at Austria-Hungary. The other Triple Alliance, the third Triple Alliance. Austria-Hungary is a resilient state and has survived much hardship where other states would be destroyed. Yet the increasing support for Pan-Slavism in Russia, combined with the fervor of war in the Balkans, poses a threat that may very well spell the end of the Habsburg rule. Worse yet, the rivalry with the Italians has started again in earnest. Sorry, I didn't see that. Austria must quell the fury in the Balkan states and stand with Germany against her enemies, or the empire may become a cherished memory. They're probably in the worst position of all the great powers, and in this scenario, I think they start off with Hungary as an integrated puppet state. We can actually take a look at the map, too, when I'm done with this. Russia is the big threat on the Eastern Front. The Balkan Wars did little to calm the people of the Russian Empire. Though Russia had thrown their support behind the South Slavic powers, only Serbia and Montenegro are loyal to the Empire of the East, and crisis is on the horizon if things don't change. And now, Serbian extremists have proposed trying to break a war out with Austria-Hungary, and this is exactly what Russia needs. Russia wants the war. The clear goals of German, Poland, and Slavic lands in Austria are in Russia's sight. Russia's another interesting scenario. We have Nicholas II here of the Romanov dynasty, the last czar of the Romanov dynasty. Russia does fall apart before the end of World War I. It falls into communism. Playing as Russia to try to prevent that and expand the Russian Empire could also be an interesting series. So let me know what you think. France, the next big power in Europe. France's revanche is soon at hand, if I said that right. The return of the tricolor to Alsace-Lorraine and the rightful French territory owned by the Germans in Africa seems nearer than ever. Of course, the Germans are just as ready to strike, but France's time to prove a lesson learned is now. Interesting thing about Germany. This could also be another, I don't know if this is really a pacifist approach, but Bismarck did not want Germany to take Alsace-Lorraine after the Franco-Prussian War. And if I were to play as Bismarck, would he return that territory? I don't know. Bismarck seemed to be more imperialist later in his career. He was not a big proponent of colonies and building a navy. He wanted to focus more on Germany itself and on the army. However, I think towards the end of his tenure, he seemed to be leaning a little bit more in favor of colonies. So that's something to think about. So, well, you post and let me know what you think. After all, surely all that will be needed is the French élan that was missing from the last war. That means like patriotic fervor, kind of. And the Germans will be sent packing. Yeah, and that's what they thought going into the war, too. That's interesting when you read Barbara Tuchman's Guns of August. She talks a lot about that, the French élan. Of course, there's rumors a long war could be to our disadvantage. Yeah, you think? But rumors aren't always true, are they? That's an interesting one. And then we've got the United States. This is 1914. Taft is not in office. These mods always screw up the American presidency. This is Wilson who's in office in 1914. Right? Hoover was 28. Coolidge, 24. Harding, 20. Yeah. 16 was Wilson's second. So 1912 was when Wilson got elected. So Taft, one of the criticisms I have with a lot of these mods is that they don't get the American presidency right. Okay, anyways, the United States is an isolated pacifist country, as it has been since Theodore Roosevelt's administration. I probably would disagree with that. However, the climate of the world today leaves little room for a nation with America's power to stay out of these affairs. Though Wilson has ran a campaign on isolationism and seems to have little incentive to change course, the spirit of the Great War could easily force the United States' hand. With Mexico unstable and Europe at each other's throats, how long can the U.S. rise above the fight? That's interesting. I mean, there are definitely isolationist factions within America, but I think America's always been a little bit more imperialist than the history books give them credit. I mean, we've been really expanding since the beginning of our country, with, if you consider, taking the land from the Native Americans, expansion, which we took by force. So I have a whole nother argument theory on that. So that's another video and maybe even another scenario. But the U.S., that would be less action going on there. Would we intervene in Mexico? The U.S. did intervene in Mexico. That's where Patton and I think MacArthur saw some of their first action. I know Patton. I read about Patton getting into like a gunfight down there or something. So that's American history there. Last of the great powers, Great Britain or the United Kingdom. The situation in Europe has become too much to bear. Germany and France are both far too close to Britain's position for the comfort of the British public. The Kaiser even has the gall to challenge the Royal Navy's dominance. Yeah, I wouldn't be too interested in that if I'm playing as Bismarck. We'll do more of fleet in being strategy, which is the strategy to not sacrifice your fleet, but use it as an ability to sort of check the opponent's fleet, which I think is I think that was their strategy after Jutland, at least. Anyways, when the war, all fear is to come. Something simply must be done. All right, that rhymed. Or must it? I don't know what that means. There is the option to let France and Germany grind each other down and build ourselves up. Of course, British troops must get involved if Germany or France perhaps end up attacking any British ally, and that they're talking about the state of Belgium. Belgium protected by British, seen by the Germans as a backdoor leading to Paris, avoiding the fortified French military concentration along the Franco-German border. The Kingdom of Belgium is in a tricky situation. Albert I will have a difficult choice to make: either stand against the Kaiser Wilhelm II and stood side by side with the Entente, or either let German troops walk in its territories and take a different course of action. That would probably end up making it become a puppet state. That's interesting. Japan, I probably won't play Japan because I have the Making War History, which is another World War I game. The Great War, Making History of the Great War. I'm playing that that game as Japan right now, so I probably won't play Japan. But just to read the Japan scenario, fortunately, it turns out the Emperor Taisho, I don't know if I pronounced that right, is cursed with mental afflictions which have severely impacted his ability to rule. Fortunately for Japan, his ministers and other members of the imperial court have begun to administrate Japan, whose public is getting its first taste of liberty. But still, what of the war in Europe? Would it be to Japan's benefit to throw in? After all, the British-French alliance is tenuous at best, and Japan may be better off simply waiting to choose which side serves its interests. Japan does side with the British, and they do take a number of German territories. Keep going down here. We have Mexico. While initially it seems Mexico's victory in the first phase of the Mexican Civil War was the end of it in 1913, he was deposed, killed, and replaced by one of his former generals, Victoriano Huerta, I think is how you say it, is not popular or terribly competent, and few see him lasting long in command of the nation. Still, there is no agreement among the Mexican populace as to who is to be the leader. Some rally behind causes as extreme as communism or military dictatorship. Will civil war rear its ugly head again? Netherlands. This one is really neutral. Since the Second Hague Conference, 1907, the Netherlands do everything to avoid a political alliance with another European empire, as the drums of war resound to the gates of Amsterdam, and despite their strong policy of neutrality, the peaceful mill country could soon find itself back to the wall, having to make a choice that could forever turn its future. I think it's the same as the first scenario. Ottomans. Let's see here. Well, what was once the world's greatest empire has now fallen to near ruin. The Sultanate is no longer considered a major power in Europe, and the carving of Turkey between all the European powers is a constant threat that crawls closer and closer to reality. To make matters worse, the incompetent Enver Pasha has seized effective control of the government. The best course of action, according to the Porte, is to draw close to Germany and hope their mighty army can protect us in our time of need. Trying to get the Ottomans are in a tough situation. There's a lot of countries that don't really like them. Bulgaria being one, others, Serbia and the Balkan states, also Russia. So bringing in the Ottomans to the German sphere of influence is kind of like, you got nothing else, you got nothing better. I guess controlling the Ottoman empires could take control of the Suez, maybe. Egypt is independent in this game. Ottomans, I always like doing the underdog scenario. I am playing an Ottoman Empire, restoring an Ottoman Empire scenario series in Geopolitical Simulator 4 right now, so I don't think I'd play Ottomans in this, but it does sound fun to try to restore the Ottoman Empire. I don't know why. Sounds like a challenge. Serbia. The Balkan Wars saw massive success for Serbia, as well as their most important ally in Greece. The hard part, however, has just begun. The Habsburgs still hold the region of Bosnia, as well as other South Slavic territories. Worse yet, they see Serbia as a troublemaker and would be more than happy to rid the world of the state at a moment's notice. Fortunately, Russia seems to have taken a liking to Serbia. I don't know if there's a national focus that establishes any type of secret alliance with Russia and Serbia. I'll take a look at that, I guess. Though perhaps for malice reasons. The Tsar Peter utilizes this. If Tsar Peter utilizes this, the world may change forever. Last country, Bulgaria. Bulgaria was wrong to trust the Greeks. Never trust the Greeks. And the Romanians to stay out of the inevitable conflict between themselves and Serbia. This is interesting because this actually played out in the game that I am playing right now. And are down to the lowest territorial extent since independence from the Ottoman Empire. It is unlikely they will be fooled twice. Russia seems next in line of false friends, seeking only to profit from the state. The only country that seems to genuinely have Bulgaria's interest at heart are Germany and Austria. Perhaps it's time for the new alliance. I'm going to show you what it looks like on the map and maybe take a look at some national focuses as well. And of course, this is the map in Europe in 1914, early 20th century, or prior to World War I. This is what Europe looked like. You have the German Empire, originally established by the Prussians, which Prussia was in the east, and they united the empire. Austria-Hungary, I thought there were, I guess we're going to see, but I thought that this was actually independent. Montenegro. Yeah, there it is. So if you see there, Austria-Hungary has Austria-Hungary, Central Powers, has the Kingdom of Austria, an integrated puppet. So that's how that plays out, because there's like a dual monarchy situation there. For Germany, I'm just going to show you what the national focus looks like. So these are the routes that were typically taken up to secret alliance with Romania. These are the routes that are typically taken up to 1914. Bavarian national, that just sounds like a horrible idea. This is the Moroccan crisis, Russian policy, anti-Serbian policy. Befriend Bulgaria, which you could do in 1915. Bulgaria does join the war. There is a slight colonial focus here. Befriend the Ottomans, Berlin-Baghdad Railway. That brings in a lot of manpower. Support, I like this one, support whites in Finnish Civil War. I feel like we can kind of break off of, maybe carve some pieces out of Russia And if I could get to it before war broke out, that could definitely weaken Russia's position. I also like this invite Sweden to the Central Powers. That didn't happen. But you have to go through the Zimmerman telegram first, which is, eek, that could bring the United States into the war. I don't know, I like that idea. Let's see, prepare for war is a big one. There's a Schlieffen plan. One of the problems is that as an authoritarian government, you really can't do much politically influentially because of you can't influence politics because, see here, yeah, there's a diplomacy. You need world tension at 35 to invite anyone into a faction. You need world tension at 15 to send volunteers. You need it at 50 to send, or that's, oh no, 35 to send Lend-Lease. So a lot of the actions you could take to try to influence the situation without actually going to war are limited within an authoritarian system because you have to get world tension to be much higher, and some things don't actually cause it, like the annexation of Korea, well, in the 1910 version at least, annexation of Korea doesn't have any world tension attached to it. So, you know, that makes, it would have been nice if that was there. But the Schlieffen plan does give you 15% world tension, so you can kind of, there are some ways to get involved. But I like some of these other options too. Let's see, we have force Denmark to take a position. I would almost like to take Denmark itself, or make it a puppet state at least, which will give us better access to the Baltic, from the Baltic to the North Sea. The Netherlands for military access. I don't know why that would benefit, because the Netherlands don't border France at all. There's Mein Kampf. Hitler Chancellor. I would like to not go down that route, but you can. This does extend into World War II as well. Befriend Poland. So, I don't know if you can go into World War II without Hitler and still be able to go down these national focus tree. That would be interesting if I could pull that off. And you do have an air focus, you have the industrial focus, you have a naval focus here, which is good. Extra research slot right there, and then another one. You can start with 4 research slots. That's down the infrastructure line here. Of course, you can't get to it until 1916, and there are some date barriers with a lot of these national focuses as well. So that is what we're looking at. Franco-German friendship. What is that? Oh, that's not a democratic focus. If I'm playing as Bismarck, he is a monarchist, so I have to go down. I have to support the Kaiser. Probably down this line too. Reorganization Act, full rearmament, bureaucracy, fascist coup. These are mutually exclusive, so this is a nice route though, because it does help with building up your manpower and getting divisions quicker. And there's a lot of ways to get political power too. So that is the German national focus. Serbia. Just wanted to look at them real quick. Italo-Turkish war contest Albania's sovereignty, anti-Ottoman. Montenegro is weak. The Ukraine is weak. Punish Bulgaria. This is all very expansionist Serbian movements here. I wonder, acknowledge Bolshevik revolution. Communist menace, adopt Marxist ideas. Go down a socialist route here. Sanction Austria-Hungary. Sanction Germany. Whatever. This is Serbia. These national focus for Serbia are really, assuming a lot here. Support Croatian revolt. That's interesting. Form Yugoslavia. Increase Belgrade defense. Reinforce Ottoman border. Serbia first. Develop the country. I don't see. Oh, Russia friendly rhetoric. Russian arms delivery. Prepare for war. I don't see any type of Franco-Serbian friendship. I don't see any type of secret alliance with Russia. Maybe the Russians. Maybe it's in the Russian tree. I don't want to look at every single tree here. We're going to end the episode soon. Spark the powder keg. Ooh, maybe that's it. Orthodox Brotherhood. Appeasement in the Balkans. Support Serbia. There it is. Restore Russia's former glory. This is how you spark the war, I think. As it has been played. As it has played out in history. Interesting. Very cool. That's why I love this mod. These are great national focuses. Oh, and with some of them, I even think they give pretty good descriptions too. No, not that one. There you go. Yeah, some of them actually have pretty good descriptions for like historical point of view. So I think the creators of this mod did a great job. This is the best one I've seen so far. Let me know down below in the comments if you'd like to see me play a series. Particularly, I'm going to probably be trying the Bismarck approach to Germany. Let me know if you want me to do 1914, 1910. I think someone's already requested 1910. The slow play, which again won't be as aggressive. You won't see as much action. Just kind of more like my channel has been. But I think war will eventually break out, but I'm going to try to avoid it, as Bismarck would have done, through a system of alliances. So, also, if there's any other scenarios you like for World War I, let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in a new series soon, hopefully. Thank you for watching.